Hello BookTube, how are you? My name is Dennis and today I'm making a quick announcement video that I am about to join in on the reading of Faulkner's Light in August with Alan at Big Books and Hard Classics, as well as Brian at Bookish. They have set up a whole plan or a schedule to read this book. I believe this weekend we would have read the first chapter, which I'm here making video after finishing, as well as we will read 5 chapters every week after. I know that Brian said they are planning to make a video every Saturday, so next Saturday will be chapter 6, and I am jumping on the train and making my own videos because this is an author I had heard so much about, and I think I can bring a perspective of innocence when it comes to his texts. I know that Brian at Bookish is a professor, and so he's read this work before, and he even said that he made some lesson plans. Whereas Alan is a Faulkner enthusiast. Anyone who has 4 books of Light in August and has written in every one of them is definitely an enthusiast, and this I believe is his favorite author, but don't quote me on that. I was a bit intimidated in picking up Faulkner because he somewhat has an intimidating persona. His books come across as being dark from what I heard and very southern, but I actually am so in the mood to read something of the southern variety and learn more about this area of our country. It fascinates me greatly because I feel like they have undergone a lot of change, and therefore there seems to be a lot of history in these lands. Let's get to the first chapter. So the first thing that I noticed about this is that William Faulkner does not take any time to get us right into the story. We begin this book by following Lena Grove in her pursuit of a man who got her pregnant. She decides to take a journey to Jefferson, Mississippi from her hometown of Alabama to chase him down. She gets word of his location in her hometown from other people after not finding him where she was looking for him. Supposedly he works in a mill in Jefferson, and so she is on the journey to find him. We are shown an instance where she's taken in by a family along her trip, and the chapter basically ends with her making her way to Jefferson. So I'll just focus on 3 little things that I took away from this novel. The first being, of course, is how quickly we are thrust into the story. The second thing that stood out to me is the southern hospitality. There seems to be this outwardly niceness within the people there, and them putting people ahead of money. I know that wherever you're from that may not seem like a novel concept, but in New York City, where it's dog eat dog, it is refreshing that people still have a soul, or had a soul when this was written. The third thing that I found really interesting in this first chapter is this idea of a woman uniting with a man through being left by a man. The person who picks her up off the road and takes her home preaches to her that once a woman is abandoned, she is somehow now united with the male species, and that she can be brave enough to take a trip like this because she knows that all the men will look out after her. and she will have their sympathy. I will read you the quick little excerpt just to give you an idea of his writing and to give you more in depth into this concept from his side of view. So Armstead is the guy who picked her up while driving a wagon, and he's helping her get closer to Jefferson before he invites her to spend the night at his house. And I believe this is Faulkner trying to communicate something about the environment at this time through his minor character, which is Armstead. "Sure," Armstead says. "You come on with me." For the first time, the mules move swiftly off their own accord. "Smelling corn?" Armstead says, thinking. But that's the woman of it. Her own self, one of the first ones to cut the ground from under a sister woman. She'll walk the public country herself without shame, because she knows that men folks, will take care of her. She don't care nothing about the woman folks. It wasn't any woman that got her into what she don't even call trouble. Yes, sir. You just let one of them get married or get into trouble without being married. And right then and there is where she secedes from the woman race and species and spends the balance of her life trying to get joined up with the man race. That's why they dip snuff and smoke and want to vote. So it's kind of interesting that on one hand she's kind of uniting with the man race, and her security is established because I guess the man feels guilty in front of her for what another person of his sex has done to her. So kind of the man as a whole, we take the burden of one wrong action or wrong actions committed by other men. On the other hand, with the last sentence, you almost get the idea that when he says that's why they dip snuff and smoke and want to vote, you almost get the idea that women need their own rights to protect them better against the injustices that men constantly commit. I thought that was a very interesting passage. It was the one I most felt drawn into, and so I thought I'd share with you. Again, I'm looking forward to getting to chapter 6 by Saturday and hopefully giving you my opinion as I make my way through Faulkner, my first reading of this author. And I gotta say, I am so intrigued just because I kind of need a good book about the South after visiting Kentucky. So a lot of memories or a lot of ideas are coming back to my head from the trip, especially with the way the Southern hospitality here is evicted through the people's actions. So I hope you will join me for further videos. I'll try to post a video on my readings every week. So hopefully by Saturday I will have another video where I will discuss what I thought until chapter 6. I'm sure it's going to be a fun ride because I feel like a little kid where one hand I'm holding on to Brian and the other hand I'm holding on to Alan, as they provide great expertise for a newbie who's decided to take up Faulkner. So see you guys soon and have a great week.